Please do. All right. So welcome everyone to Divine Love, the writings of Rumi, and also on the news that went out. I call this the invitation because this is the invitation into our journey into the different experiences, mystical experiences of world scripture. I think there are very few scriptures that are more popular than the mystical poetry of Rumi. Because he lived in a very cosmopolitan city. Which had Buddhists and Hindus and Muslims and Christians and Jews all living together, coexisting. And his poetry became, of course, most used in Islam and among the order of Sufis that followed him. But it was also used by the mystics of all these other religions. It's also been used by them. So it is a very universal theme, which is the theme of the mystic, and that's why we're starting with this today. What I would like you to do, if you join us next week, and I hope you will, between now and next week, and I'll send out a reminder via Maya, and that Maya, this is why I haven't sent you the information yet. Between now and next week, I would like you to bring an object to the class. You can put it in front of you as we do the class. If anybody attends the class in person here in the office, of course, we'll circle Maya's circle. By the way, your circle on the coffee table in the office, Maya, is lit. It has been lit since 10 o'clock this morning, and will continue to stay on through our office hours. I have discerned office hours Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. So I will be here attentive to the things of the church and the office from 10 a.m. to 4 p.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. My days off are Monday and Tuesday. And Saturday is open to go either way, depending on what needs to be done. Now, that is all about me, but I would like to learn more about you. So let's begin by just sharing a little bit about you for my sake, who you are, what your vocation is in life. And by the way, retiring, being contemplative at home is a vocation. So whatever your vocation is in life, it is welcome. And what is it that attracts you about the mystical life, about living from the mystic core of your being? What about that? So think about that for a moment. What is calling you from your heart that draws you to the mystical core of your being? And you do not have to share ever, because these are classes of comfort and assurance. And if you say pass, gladly, we will let your silence be what it is. I'm looking at you right now, so I'm looking off to the side. So I'm going to now look into my camera so you can see me like I'm looking directly at you. So what is it that calls to you from the core of your being onto the mystical path? And your name, vocation may be something of your family, and what calls you to the mystical path. So I'm Laura. My vocation is ministry, whatever form that takes at any given time, whether it's at home or doing professional work. My husband is Larry. My cat is Sophia. Those are the two intimate beings in my life on a day-to-day basis. And what calls me to the mystical path is my longing to be in that divine communion with all that is on a moment-to-moment basis. That doesn't mean I'm always there, okay, but always in the background is my, and longing being a good thing, is my call to recenter myself and put myself there. Okay. So who would like to go next? And I'm going to, let me stop the share so we can see each other a little better while we do this kind of sharing. Stop share. There we go. Okay.
I could go. So I'm Marco. I'm 52 years old. I'm a father, married for 28 years with my lovely wife Shirley, and also the father of two wonderful children that we adopted from South Korea as babies. And now they are all grown up, 21 and 24 years old, Emma and Luca. And I'm a director at TELUS Health. So it's a company that we deliver benefits and retirement solutions to large enterprises and governments. So I've been doing that for many years. And my mystical path, basically, I love all the teachings of unity. It feels really, really like home. And I love to have the Christ essence within me. The same Christ essence that spoke through Jesus is within all of us. And I just feel that divinity. And my goal in life is to try to bring people to recognize their own divinity, because they don't have to have a very hard path of enlightenment, just to focus on their intrapersonal and interpersonal relationships with God and with everyone around us. So I have a calling to be full-time minister one day, but that's going to be after I retire from my current career, and tend to my children's needs financially and emotionally and mentally. So I'm present for them as much as possible, and then when they're older, I will then transition to ministry full-time.
Beautiful.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marco. That's wonderful. That's wonderful to know your inner calling. Wow. Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. And who else? Rosemary?
Sure. So, okay, I'm Rosemary. I'm I was born and brought up in Rhode Island, Irish Catholic. And frankly, I think I've always been a mystic. As I live it today, it's bringing me right back into what I remember from childhood. And so, I've always been kind of not all here. And they're being very aware of that. My calling, I guess looking back on everything, I've always thought that I didn't know what my calling was, but in fact, looking back, it's been ministry under many different names. But I've always been helping people to find themselves and to grow into, and to help communities grow into their promise. So, we're doing that for pretty close to 85 years. And I I was the oldest of 5 girls, and the number of girls is diminishing, but in this framework, in the material realm. And so I guess at some point in the relatively near future, we'll all be back together.
There we are.
And
Yes. Wow. Wow.
Not too soon, Rosemary.
Yeah.
Not too soon, no.
We'd love for you to hang out in your earthly home of the body there for a while
Well,
longer.
I'm still feeling called to be here.
Many, many years. I call you every Friday. Rosemary's my mentor.
Oh,
So yeah,
wonderful.
she's amazing, and she taught us metaphysics and these wonderful teachings of unity. So it's great to have her.
Wonderful. Wow.
Yeah.
Yes,
Wow.
and so I'm kind of getting back to beginning a new class soon.
Good.
Good. Good.
Because
Okay.
I also love teaching.
Yeah.
Yes, yes. Don't we? I think everyone sitting here is called to that
Yeah.
teaching, being a teacher. We're all teachers and we're all ministers
And students.
and
students, that's
students,
correct.
forever students. Yes.
Yep.
Yes. Yes. And Susan.
Right. Well, I don't know where the love of mystical things and sayings, I don't know where that comes from or what it, what in it appeals to my inner self. But I've always liked the writings of Thoreau and Emerson and all of those. Rumi for sure. I am retired, and but even though I like the idea of meditation, I'm very much of the world. I was on the board once, and I had written I wanted to be in the world and of it, and they thought it was a typo, and so they changed it to not of it. But I am really practical, and I guess the thing I can't say I have a calling, but I'm certainly into harmony. I've lived in community with a couple of people, several of us in community with different groups I was involved in. So yes, I'm about harmony and friendship, and that's it.
Wow.
Very
Wow.
good.
It's
This thing
wonderful.
about
You know, part of being
income.
in the world and of it is recognizing that we are permeated by spirit here. There's no my husband very wisely said at a education session once when somebody was talking about the inner world and the outer world, and he said, well, where's the border there? It's not your skin. So what's the the universe, the world is what it is, and spirit permeates it, permeates us, so that when we release whatever clothing we're wearing for this lifetime, we just I believe we just expand consciously into all of it, which we already are. We just have, because we're wearing this, that this is what we often think we are. Yeah, but we're so much more. Okay. Thank you. Susan.
All right. Okay. Well, I'm very glad to hear Susan and her incarnational calling.
Yes.
It's very much Susan is
Grounded.
that energy in
Yes.
my life in regarding Unity of Montreal. She's very concrete, very practical, and I am, I'm Maya. I've been, I think I've always, from a little girl on, from my first communion, I felt that I was somewhere in God's army. Yeah, there is I explained that to somebody the other day, that I felt that ordination is a lifetime thing. You don't step in and out. It's not a job. It's calling you till you pass over. And I think ordination has that always. To me, that is mystical. To me, at the moment, what's calling me is an ever simplification of my own life, of my own intellect, coming into almost having my feet on the ground in my garden with animals, with the blue zone concept that Rosemary is dreaming of for us. That's my calling. That's my mystical path now, is to go from a PhD loaded psychotherapist intellect down into, all that. I'm brushing it off my shoulders, and I see it. I just touched my dog and she came up, and to me that was mystical. So I'm very grateful for Reverend Laura and her enthusiasm to be with us for a month and teaching us the mystical awarenesses from different lenses, through different lenses. Yeah. Oh, yeah. And I'm married to a man called Bobby. Hi, Bobby.
Hi.
That was him.
Okay, can you hear me? You're starting to come back. You froze for a moment. Which means I froze. Can everyone hear me? All right.
I'm gonna take the video out because that gives you more bandwidth from my end. So, okay.
Okay, and I will be using the PowerPoint, so I hope that isn't too much use of the bandwidth. So very good, very good. I did hear what you said though, Maya. And especially the mystical connection with your dog. That was terrific. Okay. All right. So here we go. And we'll start from the current slide. Where's my arrow? There it is. There we go. Okay. So Rumi actually, he said he was referring to what Shams, his dear beloved friend and fellow mystic, had said. He said, "We are rubies in the sun." He said, "The light within us is the light of the sun, but we are the jewels that make it so beautiful." And just a wonderful, wonderful way to think of ourselves. Okay, a little bit of the background. This will just take a couple minutes or so. Well, probably 3 to 5 minutes, I'd say. So Ruby was born as Jalal ad-Din Muhammad Balkhi because he was born in Balkhi, which is now part of Afghanistan, to the mystical theologian Baha al-Din Walad. So his father was a mystical theologian. His father fled to Konya. Konya is the international, it was the, at the time, the western end of the Silk Road. So it's where a lot of global roads came in and where people would meet or live and trade and so forth. So he spent the remainder of his years in Konya, Anatolia. Anatolia is now present-day Turkey, for those of you who probably know that, which was part of Rome. And when it originated as Anatolia, it was part of Rome, or Rum. hence the name Rumi, because he went from Balkhi to Rum, to the territory of Rum or Rumi. So his name shifted to Rumi. Rumi becomes a mystical teacher and leader of a religious community after his father dies. He encounters a wandering dervish just one day while he's riding his donkey or his mule, excuse me, through the marketplace. And it was Shams al-Din of Tabriz. And when he encountered him, it was not unlike Paul's encounter of Christ in the book of Acts. Literally, the power of this encounter when he met Shams and saw, and Shams was standing there claiming his divinity as with all people, how the great God, God is great, and we are that. And he said the divinity, when he looked into Sham's eyes, the power, the spiritual power literally knocked him off his mule. And so he knew this was a special person. And Shams asked him a spiritual question, which he answered from all wisdom and grace. And basically he said, who is the greater teacher? And he said, was it Muhammad or was it? And then he mentioned another teacher, Hadris. Hadris, like Shams, claimed that we are all God. But Rumi said it's Muhammad, because Muhammad was willing to be both human and God, always having that heart's longing to be the expression of the divine. And because he spent his lifetime doing that, and of course he received the Quran, that he was the greater. And this so excited Shams that they connected, they bonded immediately. They develop an intimate friendship. It draws Rumi away from his family. It draws him away from his followers. And some of the followers got a little jealous of Rumi's relationship with Shams. And in 1248, just 4 years after they had met, Shams disappears and is believed by later scholars to have been murdered by some of Rumi's followers. Out of his deep grief, Rumi then finds a lasting spiritual connection with Shams through the power of divine love and begins writing about this in his poetry. And he writes poetry and verse revealing the profound depth and breadth of the human being longing for and finding God. And it was the depth of grief that Rumi experienced at the loss of Shams that actually guided him, that actually called him into this life of mystical writing. So here are some samples, some quick samples of his mystical writing, and how I chose the samples I'm sharing with you today. I chose them as a reflection of our 5 basic unity principles. And how many of you, does anyone have this book, The Illuminated Rumi? Well, if you don't, I recommend it, because it's not just would that I could show you some of the illustrations in here. It's not just a book of words. It is also a book of beautiful, beautiful illustrations, and hence the Illuminated Rumi by Coleman Barks, and the artist is Michael Green. But it is, or translated by Coleman Barks, translated and some commentary by Coleman Barks, and then the artist is Michael Green. And it is an incredible book just to read through. Is a lesson in mysticism itself. And it's an easy read through, but it takes you, if you let it, it can take you very, very deep. So Rumi continues his writing, including 26,000 couplets. And you know, today we'll just cover about 20,000 of them. I'm kidding. But 26,000 couplets of the Masnavi, which is his greatest collection, the collection of writings that greatly influenced the mystical thought and literature of Islam, as well as Christianity, Hinduism, and Buddhism, all of which were part of the pluralistic society of Konya. And Judaism uses it a little bit too, but his main interactions, or the primary interactions, were with these four religions. 1273 and forward, Rumi dies, and his followers begin the order of the Mahwah. See if I can say this. I did learn a little Arabic, but Rumi was Persian. Malaiya. Oh, I should have done the computer click on this one before sharing this, but okay. Malaiya, the order of our master, a fraternal order of mystics who dance to the music using Rumi's poetry. So what do we
Right.
call this order of mystics who dance to music inspired by Rumi? Anybody want to?
Sufis.
Sufis, exactly, Sufis. And specifically when they are dancing, how do we refer to them? What do they do?
Whirling dervishes.
Whirling dervishes. Yes, whirling dervishes. That whirling, that spinning, particularly in a particular position, sends them into that altered state, that deeper consciousness. It would be like taking one of the mind-altering drugs that people sometimes take to reach those places, because you are shifting the chemistry of the mind, literally, when you do movement like that. And it takes them into that expanded place of consciousness. Deep and long-term meditation does that as well. Meditation is a medication.
Yeah.
It is. Yep. All right. So now we will look at one presence, one power, and these are where we have very, very brief quotes. I cannot possibly do full justice even to the beautiful writings that are in this book today, but I captured just a little bit, just a verse or two of each to give us a sense of them. One presence, one power. I am all orders of being. This is the circling galaxy, the evolutionary intelligence, the lift, and the falling away. So I am life, I am the falling away of life, I am the circling galaxy. Now, when I saw that galaxy, I thought, I didn't know they were aware of galaxies in the 1200s. So I explored it a little deeper, and Rumi is referring to the Milky Way. In fact, that's what
Wow.
galaxy, that's what the root of galaxy it means. It means milk, like the milk that stretches across the sky. And the original galaxy was that band of the Milky Way. That's what they called it. They called it a galaxy, and a band of galaxy. Now, it was only later that the other galaxies that are filling our universe were discovered to be as such, just like our Milky Way. So I am all orders of being, the circling galaxy, the evolutionary intelligence, the lift, and the falling away. Okay, now I'm going to read a little bit more from the Illumined Rumi. If I can find that particular one, I have it marked here. That from where that is from. It is not unlike the Jim Friedman's poem, I Am There. How many of you are familiar with that poem? I Am There. Maya, oh, is she there? Yeah. She may have read it sometime to you. Do you need me? I am there. You cannot see me, but I am the light you see by. You cannot hear me. And on it goes. So here is Rumi's version of I am there. I am dust particles in sunlight. I am the round sun. To the bits of dust I say, stay. To the sun, keep moving. I am morning mist and the breathing of evening. I am wind in the top of a grove and surf on the cliff. Mast, rudder, helmsman, and keel. I am also the coral reef they founder on. I am a tree with a trained parrot in its branches. Silence, thought, and voice. The musical air coming through a flute, a spark off a stone, a flickering metal. Both candle and the moth crazy around it. Rose and the nightingale lost in the fragrance. I am all orders of being, the circling galaxy, the evolutionary intelligence, the lift and the falling away. What is and what isn't. You who know, you, the one in all, say who I am. I am you. Isn't that amazing stuff? It's just, ooh, God bumps. Okay. So that is the one presence and one power that lives even as us, as all that we see, and as us. So next we have the divine within you as you, the second principle of unity. All right. And we see a little bit of that. We heard a little bit of that. I am you in there. We see some of that in one of his prose writings called The Real Work, where he says there is, and here is the path of a mystic, by the way. He is actually instructing the mystic on his or her path at this point. There is one thing in this world that you must never forget to do. If you forget everything else and not this, there's nothing to worry about. Isn't that nice? There's nothing to worry about. But if you remember everything else and forget this, then you will have done nothing in your life. So this is really deep wisdom. And here is what there is. There is one thing in this world that you must never forget to do. And here it is. Remember the deep root of your being, the presence of your Lord. Give your life to the one who already owns your breath and your moments. That's the one thing. So that's why I asked at the beginning, what calls us to the mystical path? We're called to our own highest spiritual nature. The deep root of our being, the presence of our Lord. To give our all to that which already owns it, to that of which we are already a part. And that is the Christ within. To know the deep Lord of your being. That's your Christ. There he is. She is. It is. Third principle. We are co-creators with God, creating reality through thoughts held in mind. Or as we said in my day of learning and teaching, thoughts held in mind produce after their kind. we actually are constantly, because the creative power of God is constantly flowing through us, and we're those rubies in the sun is shining through us. We are constantly creating our experience through the prism of our minds, that the light of God shines through. Now, does this mean we have to feel bad or icky if bad or icky things are happening to us or in our world? No, because that's not what this teaching is about. This teaching is about, how can I say it? Everything that comes to us comes to awaken us to who we are. Everything that comes to us comes to awaken us to who we are.
Amen.
And and when we have that attitude toward what comes to us, then we let the light that is within us shine outward into our world. So here is how Rumi approached that idea. I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons. Oh, Maya, you mentioned your PhD, which I'm working on right now. I'm working on my PhD. I'm working to bring the world of mysticism together with the world of science, and it's a task. It's a task. But I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door. I have looked here and looked there and thought this and thought that and searched outside myself over and over and over again. So I have lived on the lip of insanity, wanting to know reasons, knocking on a door, and then it opens. And I realize I've been knocking from the inside. So I'm not knocking on a door outside myself, waiting for it to open. I've been knocking on my own door, waiting for me to open to who I am, and realize that that the world I experience out here is the world I'm already carrying in here. It's a very mystical way of that, what Unity calls the law of mind action. That the inner is longing to burst forth into the outer world, and will find any way to do it, good, pleasant or unpleasant, preferable or not preferable. The door opens, and I discover I've been knocking from the inside. I should pause here. Any questions, thoughts, comments so far?
Wonderful. Thank you.
Sure. And of course, our fourth principle, prayer and meditation, with which we are all very familiar. Very familiar. The first three principles are about being in unity. The last two, they're about who we be, what we are. The last two are about what we do. Prayer and meditation. Do we do prayer and meditation? Basically, they do us. But our doing is the effort to set aside the time, as Maya has said, even 15 minutes a day, to set aside the time just to let the fullness of our being be, to let the fullness of God being in and through and as us be, to let the Christ in us shine consciously. And when we take that time, it is a blessed thing to do. Or as Rumi says, and I'll be closing with a longer poem on that importance of being, of prayer and meditation. And this might be one you're familiar with. This is one of his most popular quotes. Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there. When the soul lies down in that grass, the world is too full to talk about. Ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make sense. And in this, Rumi was recollecting his times with Shams, and how when Shams wasn't physically in his presence, he took time to bring Shams into his heart and to meet him there. But even each other, because we do definitely miss the physical presence of those who've left this world. Like your sisters, Rosemary, and my sister who passed 2 years ago. We do definitely miss that physical presence. I miss being able to pick up the phone and talk with my sister, just like as though we'd never been apart. But ideas, language, even the phrase each other doesn't make sense. Someone told me when my dad passed that now they said, one of my great spiritual teachers, now they said he is closer to you than even when he was in the same room with you. And it was good to know. Now, as human beings in a body, we do miss that other body. We do. But we are always connected. Always. That's why we can let people go into the light, because all they're doing is going into the oneness of all. They're not leaving. How can they leave when they go into the infinite oneness of all? How can they leave something we already are, which is also the infinite oneness of all, as Deepak Chopra has pointed out? Our body, he says, is the whole universe. From Deepak Chopra. All right. And finally, the fifth principle, active expression. Where is our time? I forgot to put my phone in front of me to watch the time. Can someone tell me?
It's 1 o'clock.
It's 1 o'clock. Okay, we've got just about maybe 5 more minutes. Will that work for everyone? Okay. So active expression, the fifth principle. Putting into active expression all that we are and know ourselves to be through prayer and meditation. All right. I liked this little play that I did. Let me get the gallery out of the way here. From the Prophets. This is a longer poem that Rumi wrote as well, but in the heart of that poem, this is what it says. He says, "Don't be timid. Load the ship and set out." So if you're called to do and be, then go for it. No one knows for certain whether the vessel will sink or reach the harbor. You don't know when you take that first step what is to come. Just don't be one of those merchants who won't risk the ocean. This is much more important than losing or making money, whatever your calling, in whatever form. This is your connection to God, your work, your activity, your way of expressing you is your connection to God. Even the stuff you do, even when you're doing the dishes, or cat owners scooping the cat litter, or dog owners picking up the poop when you're on the walk, all of it is all of your ability to do in this world and be in this world is your connection to God. Don't be afraid to set out and do what is yours to do. That is your connection to God. Okay. And again, quotes from the Illuminated Rumi. There's the information. Translations and commentary, Coleman Barks, and Illuminations, Michael Green. And we're going to close with a Rumi poem and some Rumi music. So here we are. And you see there, even a quote, "Let prayer be your breath, returning to him with every inhalation." And whoever him is for you with a capital H, returning to the Christ with every inhalation. Rumi would have no problem with that language whatsoever. None whatsoever. Let prayer be your breath, returning to him with every inhalation. And in this poem, you're going to hear a name. And that name is Halaj. And Halaj, it was like a Christed being, was a Christed being, who actually was the mentor, the spiritual mentor of Shams before he met Rumi, and the spiritual mentor of a lot of the more awakened and enlightened people on the Islamic spiritual path. So when you hear Halaj, what you're hearing is a reference to what we would call Jesus or Christ. And by the way, there's plenty of Jesus and David and what Moses and Joseph. They are all present in these poems of Rumi. Okay, because in Islam, they followed the ways of the prophets, of the great prophets of Judaism and Christianity as well. All right, so I'm going to play a little music, and let's see how that works. Can you hear it all right? Can you hear my voice all right?
Yeah, we hear your voice. With the music,
Okay.
not too much.
Not the music that much?
No.
Is it?
Are you sharing your computer audio?
Oh, thank you. No, if you bear with me one more minute, I
Yeah.
will stop the share and go. Yes, I forgot to click the audio button. Okay. Thank you. Very
You're
wise.
welcome.
Very good. Very, very good. Okay, now share sound. There we go. Optimize for video clip. Thank you. And we will go back to the presentation, go to the last slide. Down here, and from current slide. All right, and now, how is that?
Perfect.
All right, so if everyone can see this, you might not see each other anymore, but if you see this, I invite you to listen to these words. I'm turning it down a little bit. And close your eyes and embrace the experience of this. This we have now is not imagination. This is not grief or joy, not a judging state or an elation or sadness. Those come and go. This is the presence that doesn't. It's dawn, my friend, here in the splendor of coral inside, the friend within, in the simple truth of what Halaj said. What else could human beings want? When grapes turn to wine, they're wanting this. When the night sky pours by, it's really a crowd of beggars And they all want some of this. This that we are now created the body, cell by cell, like bees building a honeycomb. The human body and the universe grew from this, not this, from the universe and the human body. For a moment, just drink in this. And welcome back. Beautiful. Next week, I asked you to bring an object, and it would be an object that represents, I see these little stickers right next to me here where I'm sitting. It would be an object that represents your love for the world and your prayer for the world. So something that calls to you that represents your love for the world and your prayer for the world. And next week we will be sharing that. And then next week is all meditation. It's a long meditation, guided meditation on the tree of life, awakening each of our 12 powers going up the trunk of the tree. We'll share some about our objects. I'll share about the tree of life both on Sunday and a little bit at the beginning of our class next week. And then we will do this powerful, for those of you familiar with Shakti meditations, with chakra meditations, it is very much that form, and it is done in both Christian and Islamic language because the tree of life is in both the Quran and the Bible. We'll be awakening those 12 powers. I had a wonderful teacher, Martha Judici. Did you know Martha, Maya?
Yes.
Yep. I had a wonderful teacher, Martha Judici. She said, when all of your 12 powers are awakened, fully awakened, that is your Christ. That is your Christ. You know, because just as Jesus had the 12 disciples, so our Christ, the Christ of our being, has these 12 powers. So it will be a powerful, powerful experience. So any comments or questions before we close today?
So shall I stop the
Oh,
recording?
you must be on mute.
I'm going to stop the recording.
Who can?